Hey guys, what up? It's your host again, Mind's Eye THPS, and today we will be counting down my top 5 picks on what I feel are the best games from Activision's popular Tony Hawk's Pro Skater THPS franchise. Now, I've been a long-time fan of the series since I started playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 back in September of 2012. In fact, before then, I had that game on the Game Boy Color, but at the same time, I'm not a fan of this particular version due to how literally everything was different compared to other versions. Yet that may be because at the same time, I didn't know much about the THPS franchise back then, until again, I became immersed with THPS 3 on PC, and have since began to start playing some THPS 4, as well as THPS 2, and I've been loving the franchise ever since. Now with THPS 1 and 2 now out, I feel like it's a good time for me to rank my top 5 THPS games. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Warning: the views and opinions expressed in this video are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Mind's Eye THPS. Any content provided by our bloggers or authors are of their opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything.
Number 5.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. Now this is a relatively new game that just came out a few months ago at the time of recording this video. I personally describe this game as more of a remake rather than a remaster, since the game obviously runs on a modern day game engine, namely Unreal Engine 4, rather than its original engine back in the original games, not to mention mechanics introduced after the first 2 games, like the revert and the double tap tricks from THPS 3 and 4, respectively, are featured. Sure, Vicarious Visions did a great job on remaking all the maps from THPS 1 and THPS 2, but at the same time, some of the gameplay elements and technical assets seem to have carried over from stupid Robomodo, who thank God is dead, which of course would include the use of UE. VV at the same time could have opted for renderware, which powered the likes of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 through Tony Hawk's American Wasteland. But considering it hasn't been updated in forever, especially to support the future generations of console and gaming, then it could have not been a proper remaster, to say the least. And we wouldn't have this game. Now, speaking of choosing skaters, I'm glad that all the skaters from both games THPS 1 and 2 cover are all there, and the addition of the Ripper is a nice callback to X-Ray from THPS 3, and that's why you see me playing as him if you're wondering why. And speaking of Create a Skater, I like the way it's visually presented, not having to scroll entry by entry to see how it'll look on your character, as well as the fact you can incorporate fashion trends from the 2010s and stay with the times. However, don't expect all of the decks from the past THPS games to appear. Speaking of the music, Activision and VV did a good job on carrying over most of the original soundtrack from the first 2 THPS games. However, for obvious licensing reasons, not all of them could be featured, so instead some modern day songs had to take over the spots where the original songs couldn't appear. And I honestly don't mind that at all. Although I haven't played its multiplayer feature, it is a disappointment to make. Remember back in the golden days of THPS 3 and THPS 4, where players could freely host their old lobbies of up to 8 players and just play together on any of the available levels they desire? This sadly ain't the case anymore with 1 and 2, now that it incorporates the modern day matchmaking system, with limited options to pick from when jumping in there. Once you're in the game, you're essentially placed into an auto server, which if you don't know is a feature in Thug Pro, an unofficial mod of Tony Hawk's Underground 2, which if y'all don't know allows mini games to automatically be cycled through without user input and can be toggled on or off by the hosting player. While it does feature our favorite classic mini games like Trick Attack, Graffiti, Combo Mambo, and others, there sadly isn't Capture the Flag nor King of the Hill, nor the THPS 3 PC exclusive Control Zone. We also sadly don't get to choose what level we want to play the minigames in, and is again thanks to all lobbies being auto servers. Though the good thing about it is that after every minigame, the level will change at random instantly, so you get to experience the action through different levels every time.
Number 4.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1. As the first game in the THPS series, it saw a surge in popularity in the world of extreme sports video games that Activision decided to hop on the trend of the time, and playing a part in the early 2000s culture. Starting off as a demo with die-hard actor Bruce Willis on a skateboard, it quickly became a massive hit, selling a whopping 350,000 copies by November of 1999. The concept was relatively simple, mimicking arcade skateboarder games of the time. The player would be doing a set of goals, from acquiring the letters of the word skate, to grinding huge combos within a 2-minute time limit, followed by unlocking new levels and then rinsing and repeating. Now, this game deserves a number 4 spot because, as someone who grew up with playing THPS 3 as my first THPS game, I am not used to a THPS game that lacks reverts and manuals, and therefore making it hard for me to easily grind out high scores without having to break a short combo every time. Hence, this is why THPS 1 feels quite hard to me, unlike THPS 3 and 4.
Number 3.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. New year, new game. When THPS 2 first came out in late 2000, at the time of the PS2's launch, it was an insta-hit, building off the success of THPS 1. With many new classic maps, from Hangar to Venice Beach to Marseille, you could say that THPS 2 had the best content in terms of maps for many skaters to play on. With new features like the ability to finally manual as a way to keep your combo going, as well as an in-game cash system, you can spend it on new tricks, add stats to your skater, or even get new decks for your skateboard. We also finally gained the ability to create our own skater, with the appropriately named Create a Skater feature. So we could finally make an in-game version of ourselves, or even create our own fictional crush to skate as in-game.
You get the idea.
I placed THPS 2 on number 3 since, like the previous entry, as someone who started with THPS 3, I am used to THPS games with reverts, and although it got manual now in THPS 2, the lack of reverting makes it less, but still difficult for me to string together combos, to try and aim for the high combo scores as much as possible.
Number 2.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. This is one of my top favorite THPS games of all time. Departing from the traditional 2-minute do-everything style of performing goals in a level, it's now set in an open world environment. You know, think GTA. You can freely skate around, practicing your combos as much as possible, until you decide to approach somebody whose arrows are over their heads, and hitting the grab control to get going on the goal as stated by the NPC. A good chunk of them are your typical goals like getting high scores or getting the letters of skate. But the next thing you know, there's now completely new goals for you to do, like getting the letters of the word combo within a single combo, sketching on a car, you name it. And plus, with the rise of the ability to spine transfer to other sides of ramps and or half pipes, it's now much easier than ever to keep linking combos with reduced risk of falling down and losing your combo. And even Wally Plant, that is, fast plant off a wall ride. Had I ever worked at Neversoft when this game was being created, I'd be super supportive of such a new feature like this.
It's time for the moment you've been waiting for!
Number 1.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. This is no doubt my favorite THPS game of all time that I will spend most of my time on if my heart desires. I know, y'all probably saw this one coming if we're being honest here. I have fond memories of playing online with many randoms when I first joined in September of 2012, and returned again in January of 2015. With many modes unique to its online multiplayer mode, like Capture the Flag, Control Zone, Keep Away, the latter two, which are PC exclusives, King of the Hill, and Slap, these minigames can help to make the experience more fun for all players. THPS 3 is also noted for its high customizability, specifically on PC, not just via Create a Skater, but through mods like the popular Level mod, which introduces level from THPS 2 times, THPS4 and Tony Hawk's Underground 1 and 2, as well as adding rest of the levels from THPS 1 and 2, and even adding some unique features, like bringing the spine transfer and double tap trick features from THPS 4, as well as delimiting the number of characters entered in the in-game chat. You could even, too, have your menu customized so that it displays your favorite color there, and even give the levels an overhaul to fit your vibe, like the 512X Rio, you know? With the most easiest learning curve I ever encountered since I started playing, I've been easily able to link an incredibly long combo, especially in my favorite level of all time, Airport. THPS 3 is home to unique glitches too, like the ability for you to do an air trick on ground, as well as backwards manual, the latter which is probably the funniest glitch I've ever experienced. I would love to hear the comment section crying for a THPS 3 remaster with all those features from Level Mod. So there you have it, guys. This has been my top 5 ranking of the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater games. Let me know down in the comments below what your favorite Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game is. Please be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, leave a dislike if you didn't. Be sure to support me on Patreon, follow me on Twitter, and buy my merch. All the links are in the description below. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to turn on all notifications, and I'll see you in the next one.